little bit of a misnomer, but inflation is not worse than it's ever been.
Well, the Fed has said, literally the Dallas Fed came out and said the reason inflation is going up is because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh my gosh, this is the highest inflation has been in the past.
So I have this perspective that Biden has been a very historically dynamic president, like effective from a certain perspective, right? So his ability to pass the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, and the Inflation Recovery Act within a historically divided Senate with a just one tiebreaker majority. I think that was pretty incredible, actually, from just a pure legislative perspective. Now, I know that plenty of people might not attribute that specifically to Biden, given the fact that there's a widespread perspective on his senility and stuff like that, and I'm willing to concede that. I don't think he's necessarily in the best mental condition, but his administration, right, I think has been historically impactful from the perspective of
Okay, so the Inflation Reduction Act, has it worked?
So, yeah, I think
inflation
it hasn't worked. It literally hasn't worked, and I don't want to bash this student too much because I have to give him some credit. When he came on the microphone, at least he knew some things Biden has passed. Let's be honest. When we watch a lot of these students, it's very unlikely that they can even list 2 or 3 things Biden has done. The fact that he was able to list 4 or 5, it was pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive, but let's continue.
It's worse than it's ever been.
It's a little bit of a misnomer, but inflation is not worse than it's ever
Well,
been.
the Fed has said, literally the Dallas Fed came out and said the reason inflation is going up is because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, but we got up to 9% during the middle of the pandemic for the inflation rate, right? But currently right now, we're not at 9% inflation rate.
Yeah, but it's going up. They're not cutting rates.
Sure, but our prices, right? We'd never really
are outpacing inflation. Our wage growth is not correlating with inflation.
Oh no, yeah, that's true. At this point, it's not correlating with inflation, but given the point that we are at the pandemic right now, right?
Well, I will say this. Right now, inflation is the lowest it's been in the past year. But when you say it's the lowest it's been, are you crazy? I'm looking at the charts right now. This is the highest inflation has been in the past. Oh my gosh. This is the highest inflation has been in the past since 2010. I have the chart. Oh my gosh. I wish I could show you guys. How do I? It's not working. It's not working. Oh, it's not working. This is the highest inflation has been since 2010. I'm not even making this up. This is on NewYorkTimes.com, December inflation report. Yes. Look up NewYorkTimes.com, December inflation report. So the fact that this student is saying that Biden lowered inflation, it's just a lie. It's just not true. This is the highest it's been in the past 14 years. Right now. That's crazy. That's crazy.
The current wage, right, has still surged. And we would expect, right, during a period in which we're just recovering from a recession, that we wouldn't have quite caught up yet, right? However, I do think that the Inflation Recovery Act is definitely a misnomer.
Reduction Act.
Yeah, that bill was not meant to. I think it introduced $2 trillion worth of spending.
How do you reduce inflation by introducing $2 trillion new dollars? Yeah.
But regardless, I think it did a lot of stuff and had a lot of provisions that were very beneficial from the Democratic perspective, like the investment into renewable energies. I'm just saying that if you come from the liberal perspective, right, that's a huge win politically for you.
No,
right?
I totally get it. If you want to destroy the country, Joe Biden's been a great president for you.
Okay, yeah. So you think he's been a very dynamic president?
Well, I think he's been unbelievably effective at accelerating America's demise.
And you're saying that the people who are accelerating America's demise are the Democrats.
Of
so
course.
it's been a big win for the Democratic Party.
For example, how many people are coming across the border every day?
I think it's around 3,000?
10,000 a day.
10,000.
And I don't want to... What I'll say is this. I think it's unfair to unfairly or to inaccurately judge the president. And what do I mean by that? People do it all the time with Biden and Trump. What they say is, for example, President Biden is an amazing president. If you ask why somebody thinks that, they're going to list all the acts he's done. The problem with that is they're not listing whether or not the acts work. They're just listing acts that he's done. The reason why that's a problem is because it's an unfair way to judge a president, because if you are a liberal and you do that for Biden, why do you do that for Donald Trump? And I'm not trying to defend Donald Trump or go against Joe Biden. I just want to be fair. You say Donald Trump was a bad president. Somebody says why. They list all the things that did not work for him, but they never list how the country was under him. Meaning the economy was literally better when Donald Trump was president. Whereas right now, obviously, the economy is worse when Biden is president. But people ignore how the country is actually functioning. They only list certain programs or certain initiatives that said president may or may not have enacted, such as the Inflation Reduction Act, which literally did not work. It obviously didn't work. If you're alive in 2024, you just gotta step outside into a grocery store and you can see that eggs are 2 times the price that they were 5 years ago. I don't even think I have to explain that the Inflation Reduction Act didn't work. Whereas if you look at Donald Trump, whether you like him or dislike him, the economy was better. You cannot discredit a president based off of how you feel. You have to go off of what they actually accomplished, which I feel like people don't fairly do with President Biden. If people did that with Biden, all due credit. I'm not taking anything away from our current president. I'm just saying it's unfair to judge him on a higher standard when he hasn't done certain things, but you do not do the same with previous presidents that you do not like.
So it's triple what you thought.
Yeah.
Joe Biden is overseeing the largest invasion in American history, and you're cool with that.
So, no. I'm not cool with the border crisis, but I do think that the problem.
But he's doing nothing about it because he wants it.
One of the major issues with the border crisis, right, was the fact that the Republicans, in order to forestall Ukrainian funding, wouldn't pass the bill that
has nothing to do with bills. It's all executive authority. Joe Biden did 55 things that he reversed from Trump: remain in Mexico, reversing the asylum policy, no more deportations, no more background testing, no more DNA testing. It's nothing to do with legislation. It's just Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas saying, come on into the country.
Wait.
So because Joe Biden wants the invasion.
Legislatively, was it not the case that the Republican Senate...
It's nothing to do with it. Again, that bill has nothing to do with it. It's all executive power.
Did they not demand to have a bill for border funding and provisions?
Of course.
That would have Ukrainian funding.
Yes, and we should have done that. But Joe Biden himself, regardless of legislative action, has completely opened the southern border.
Why didn't we execute that bill?
Because it's an awful bill. It would have created amnesty, permanent work visas for people already here.
I was under the impression that Mike Johnson and the rest of the Republicans were willing to pass it up until the point that Trump called it off. No?
That's right. That's not right. No.
All right.
No.
Go.
It doesn't even matter that the student was just wrong, because let's face it, we're all wrong when it comes to certain things. To me, it feels like, and if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, people would rather hate Trump. They would rather go against Donald Trump than do what's good for the United States or do what's good for citizens. And that really upsets me. Not because I like Trump or anything, or not because I dislike Biden. This has nothing to do with my personal feelings. This has nothing to do with who I may or may not vote for. This goes into when I hear a lot of liberals or more democratic students speak, it seems like they just hate Trump. They don't necessarily care what a president or someone did that was good or bad. They just do not like Trump specifically, and they will do anything to go against him. I don't think that's the best tactic for our country, but hey, everyone can do what they want to do. But anyways, it's LFR Jojo. If you have any suggestions for me, comment down below, and I'll see you guys later.